that's just who you are. I can see you glow, shining from afar. Passion in your heart, fire in your eyes. But you on the rise, lighting up the skies. You're a superstar, that's just who you are. I can see you glow, shining from afar. Passion in your heart, fire in your eyes. But you on the rise, lighting up the skies. You're a superstar.
Welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul Awakening Show, where we celebrate resilience, honor triumph over tragedy, and inspire transformation, guiding you on a life-changing journey of healing and self-discovery. Now get ready to be inspired by Stars Tina.
You're a superstar, that's just who you are. I can see you glow, shining from afar. Passion in your heart, fire in your eyes. But you on the rise, lighting up the skies. You're a superstar, that's just who you are. I can see you glow, shining from afar. Passion in your heart, fire in your eyes. But you on the rise, lighting up the skies.
You're a superstar, superstar, superstar. Happy day to you and also you. Welcome. I am Stars Gina, yes, and I'm so excited, so grateful and honored to be here with you today on another episode of Mind, Body, and Soul Awakening. If this is your first time, I do want to say thank you for coming through and share this out and let everyone know what this is, because this is that show. This is the place where we're going to make the uncomfortable a little more uncomfortable and then get comfy with it. Yes, yes. When you come here, we're going to share those stories that make you feel not so good. This is season 3. Lord of mercy. I cannot believe I've been doing this every single week for the past few months. As you know, season 1, it was all about people who had these wonderful triumphs in their life, but they went through traumas, right? And if you don't know, a traumedy is when the energies of a trauma and a tragedy collide. When these two energies come together, life-changing experiences occur. Sometimes I feel for some people, their DNA changes. Yes, they become totally different people. In season 2, we dove even deeper into my personal traumedies. Yeah, there's a lot of them. So you gotta go back and listen to those. But this season, let me tell you, I had the honor of interviewing someone in season 1 and season 2. His name is PJ. You might know him as Pastor Jeff. And someone said, you know what? You guys make a good match. Maybe you should do a couple more episodes, do a season. So in season 3, it's all about the men. And I'm getting all my words out now because when he comes through, I'm going to have to zip it and not really say much. But Pastor Jeff is here. And you heard that intro song, right? I'm super excited about tonight because the founders of that song, the words, the voice, the music, it's all coming together. And when I had the idea of putting my show together, I was like, I'm going to need someone to introduce me. And I was like, who? And then I thought, who has a smooth, sensual, voice that's just going to calm you down and bring the energy? PJ. And then when it came for the music, I wanted something that was hype, yet motivating, yet serious, yet fun. And Tony. So with that being said, let me bring my little partner through. PJ, happy day. How you feeling?
Stars Tina, it is another super fantastic day and a wonderful day for us to have another interview. And who knew that we would have the trio here for that monumentous introduction.
Yes. So tell before we bring him through, PJ, what is your first memory, first thought? And if you're wondering who we're talking about, we're talking about our guest today, Tony with the keys. Like the keys to your heart, the keys to your house, to your car, to your music. What is your first thought when you first met him? What was that about? Tell me.
When I first met Tony, I said he's a creative. That's the very first thing that I thought of. And then when I heard his music, because I did a little bit of research on YouTube and went and listened not only to the music that he created for Glenn Lundy, but I listened to some of his other music. And then we actually had an opportunity to collaborate for another song.
Toilet paper song?
No, we did. That's all PJ. I don't know that he would want any credit with the TV song. That's all PJ. But we did a Breakfast with Champions did a collaboration for the Grow Your God for Grow for God's Sake conference, and he orchestrated that. And I mean, Tony with the Keys is off the chain.
Yeah, were you there for the music video? It was too cold. I was like,
No, I didn't get a chance to. I wasn't able to go.
yeah, it was too cold. You didn't miss much. It was cold. So let me tell you the experience. First of all, when I had the idea, I reached out to different people. Can you write this? And some people said yes, and it just kind of took forever. And when he talked to me, PJ, I loved how he asked me a bunch of questions, and he kept asking me questions and then throwing back ideas. And he was like, "Well, Tina, I think you need an anthem. Something for your tribe, something that's going to be memorable." Without further ado, guys, make the noise. Give it up for Tony
with the Keys.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? You pulled me up right in mid drink. I was in mid drink of my water. You pulled me up. What's up?
Hey, I want to, before I throw it over to PJ, because the way he's been doing it these past few weeks, I feel like a little redhead stepchild in the corner. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming through.
I don't see no red hair.
Thank you for coming through as a man, as a human, because it's not easy to be open and share your story with people. So without further ado, I'm throwing it over to you, PJ. I'm just going to close my mouth now.
Well, thank you, Stars, Tina. Tony with the Keys, bro. We are so happy to have you on the Mind, Body, and Soul Awakening show. Let's begin with you letting the viewers know a little bit about who you are, where you're from, who you are, and where you are right now before we dive into it deeply.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I'm so grateful to be on the show. Both you and Stars Tina, I look up to both of y'all. Y'all are just awesome people to follow, and so I'm grateful to be connected to you. So first and foremost, I'm a man of God. I was born and raised in McAlester, Oklahoma, where I grew up in the church. My dad is a pastor. I grew up playing the drums in church, playing the piano in church, singing in church, doing all these things. And as life has progressed, I've ended up now I'm in Arkansas, in Northwest Arkansas, where the college is, and where they call this Walmart country, because this is where the Walmart headquarters and stuff is. So grateful to be here, and that's kind of where I'm from, who I am, and where I'm at now. As far as like location, who I am, I'm a music creator. I create, I write. I'm a marketer, a master marketer, and I just love to tell people stories utilizing the gifts that God has given me. So that's Tony with the Keys, man.
Tell a little bit about your family real quick.
Yeah, so I am one of three kids. I've got an older brother, half brother. His name is Anthony as well. And then comes me, and then my younger sister, her name is Waverly. We call her Woo. And I've got two amazing parents, my mother and father. They've been such a support system for me, and just through life and encouragement. Like I said, my dad is a pastor, my mom first lady, and just was raised in it, with everything that I could ever hope for. And they just set me on their shoulders and allowed me to see so far. And here I am today, grateful because of it.
All right. Well, I might get you in trouble on this one, Tony with the Keys. Are you married? Do you have
I am. So family? I didn't even go in. Oh, I'm in trouble. She's over there. So I have a beautiful wife, Tiffany Washington. I've got 3 children, and one on the way. So my oldest is Anaya Rain Washington. She's 16. I've got an 11-year-old, Tylen Washington. She's 11. I've got a 6-year-old, Timberland Washington, and then my unborn son. He'll be here in January. His due date is my birthday, January 3rd. So that's kind of a special situation.
Look at you. We couldn't leave that out. She wouldn't like
me. Hey,
messed up. You messed up.
Look, I'm mad at myself for not going in on him, man. Yeah, she's gonna watch this too and be like, "What's up with me?"
Well, Tiffany, it was just a minor oversight. We corrected it, so don't put him in the doghouse.
That's right. That's
with
right.
with that being said, tonight we want to talk about a subject. I believe it's called recidivism. And if I'm pronouncing it wrong, then y'all forgive me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But it's simply the effect of those who are incarcerated being let free and then going back to jail or to prison. Unfortunately, the statistics suggest that while black men make up a minority of men in America, we have the highest recidivism rate. We also have the highest incarceration rate, with Hispanics following. And with that, tonight, as we talk about mind, body, and soul awakening, and you have gone through all three, I want to go directly into tell us a little bit about your experience of being incarcerated.
So before I go into that, and I appreciate this conversation so much because it's a story that I don't lead with typically, but it's definitely a part of my story. And I always say my whole story is in my name, Tony with the keys, from everything I've been through. And what actually led me to that situation was being in the streets. So Tony with the keys, I was doing just everything. I was in the streets, I was selling drugs, I was doing drugs, I was kind of living a double life, and it caught up to me. And it will always catch up if you are not being forward and you live in two different lives. Like it'll catch up to you. And you know, I ended up getting locked up, incarcerated, like really throughout my 20s. I was in and out of jail, and so I was a part of that statistic, that recidivism statistic, in and out, not really learning my lesson as much, getting slicker, what I thought was slicker, but still coming up short. And it was this last stint where I ended up being incarcerated for 3.5 years. Like the first time was like a boot camp. The second
Uh-huh.
time was a little bit longer of a boot camp, like a year. And then the third time that I actually went back in, um I was gone for like 3.5 years. And it was just eye-opening because the other ones were kind of like, they were kind of kiddie camps. And this time I was actually in prison, with, you know killers, with people of all sorts of people. But I realized that these people are people just like me who may have made some bad decisions. And I think that that's kind of where this name was really birthed, is because I realized that even though I was locked up, that there were other people who were struggling with mental prisons other than the physical prisons,
Mhm.
mental prisons, spiritual, um, uh, emotional prisons. I mean, if financial prisons, like. And so it became a mission for me to be the key that unlocks those.
Okay.
I say that Jesus is the master key, and I've just tapped into the source so I can help others unlock those prisons that they might find themselves bound by.
I like that. And the point that you talked about of prisons outside of the physical prison, I often say that the worst prison is the prison of your mind because you hold the key to it. And the only person that can let you out of it is you. And so as we talk about the prison of the mind, what was it about your mindset in your 20s and at whatever it was that led up to you being incarcerated for the 3 years? Let us in on where your mind was at during that time frame.
Um, I was I was really just it was clouded. Like it was clouded. I was in with the wrong groups, the wrong crowds. I was doing things that were uh really self-seeking. What I thought was what I was trying to accomplish. I realized that it was never accomplished. As a matter of fact, it actually took that situation, me being gone, where I realized that the stories that my parents would tell me, and that people, the elders, would tell me, like that path leads to nowhere. But dead or in jail. And I realized that both of those are a box, and you might as well be dead. Like, and it just, I realized that I had to die to those things. My mindset was at best clouded. I was trying to get over on people. I felt like, and not being as forward as I could, because I had other agendas. And it just the epitome of it led to, like, the moments before I got locked up. I wanted to get locked up because I couldn't control the things that was happening to me. I was using, I was trying to sell, and selling is just as addictive as using. And I
Okay.
was a part of the problem, and so um that was where my mind was. And I'm able to look back on it and realize that my mind was just in a bad place uh now. But at that time I thought that everything was good, but I knew that I needed something different for myself. And so, yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's it.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I heard you say there, Tony, is that association. You were hanging around the wrong people. There's a mantra that says birds of a feather flock together. And with you hanging around people who, I like to say, are operating in the negative frequency range. And I believe that most people have operated there at some point at time to some extent. It's that we have to get out of that environment if we don't want to be influenced by that environment. They often say that if you are the oddball in a group, that one or two things are going to happen. And that's either that group is going to influence you to do what they're doing, because the odds of you influencing them to do what you're doing are very slim. So with that being said, you're incarcerated. You've learned that you're not as slick as your mind was telling that you were. It, you mentioned that there was an addiction both to selling and to using. Take us into the prison with you in during that time frame and lead us up to your mind shift.
So, like I said, I come from, like, such a good background. My parents, uh they were there supporting me. They stayed down with me throughout it all. But it was me being in a situation where there was just such solitude, and I didn't have the things that were around me that were distracting me, keeping me from my purpose. And I just, there's so much noise that happens whenever I said clouded, like, I guess I could have said it was just a noisy mind frame.
Okay.
And I had that solitude, that opportunity to be still, and really reflect on who I was, and the story that I was meant to tell, the story that I was a part of. And I just had that awakening at that point, like, to where I knew that that was not meant for me. Like, I was not going to die there. That was not who I was. Um and I talked to one of the what they call the old heads in there one time. And so in those situations, like, the mirrors are warped. They're not really good mirrors. And I was kind of complaining about the mirrors, like, man, they don't even want you to see yourself in here. They don't want you to see how you really look. And he said, Tony, look around you. Everybody here is a reflection of who you were, and it's just now manifested. And now look around you. This is who you are. And I looked around and I thought about that, and something said, like, if this was a reflection of the past deeds that I've done, what brought me here, then I can change the way that I look externally by changing what I look like inside. And I really just started to really dive in on who I was. I started writing down the goals that I had for my life. I started really just training myself, reading daily, all the time. We started holding groups, and just being a part of the solution while I was in a situation that could be problematic. Um, and like, there's a lot of resistance whenever you have a purpose on your life, there is resistance from the enemy to try to attack you, and the battlefield is in the mind, Pastor Jeff.
Okay.
Like, and so there's so much resistance, and the enemy will try to have you believe that you don't need, that you don't need to worry about others, and that you don't need to improve yourself, that you are who you are. And I believe that that's what got me to that point that I was at. And that mind shift allowed me to know that that resistance, that enemy trying to keep me dumbed down,
Mhm.
um it was not real, it was false.
Mhm.
And that I could tap into a greater power than what that was, and become like who I was becoming. I realized at that point that we're always becoming the next best version or the next worst version of ourselves. And I knew that I wanted to become something greater than what I was at that time.
Tony, thank you for sharing that. I want to go back to something that you said because I don't want to gloss over it. And you reiterated that in what you just said, and that is the influence of positive parents, a mom and a dad, and being in the company of those who were in the church that did not give up on you, told you the right way, but allowed you to find out the hard way. How do you think that affected them during that 3 year time frame that you were incarcerated with your background? And the second part of that is, did you have a Damascus Road experience? Was it all at once? You went to sleep one night and woke up, and now you had this change of, and I'm gonna, my camera went off. I'm gonna cut it out. There it goes. You had this change of heart, this change of mind. Technology got a new camera and it just does what it wants to do. The A, you know what that is? That's the artificial intelligence in the camera. But you had this change of mind, or was it over a period of time that, with the solitude and processing, that you came to this mind shifting of the mindset that you went in with?
So from the time that you get in there, and to answer your first part, like, it was rough on my family. It was rough on my parents. I had my oldest daughter was 5 at that time, 6 at that time, and so that was tough for her. She didn't really understand. And then I had just had my youngest daughter, Thailand, and she was, wasn't even 1 all the way yet. And so it was tough on my wife, and she wasn't my wife at that time. It was tough on her, it was tough on the kids, it was tough on my parents, it was tough on the community, it was tough on everybody, especially with my dad being a pastor. But I'll tell a good story about him, like, and just his steadfastness that helped reinvigorate the steadfastness in myself as well. Is So whenever I was younger, at the house, I used to always, like, if I would leave the house, uh, whether I snuck out or whatever the case may be, or just stayed out late, there was this light that he always had on in the living room, and I knew that they were up if that light was on, or I knew that he knew that I was gone if that light was on.
Mhm.
And I'd come home and I'd shut the light off. And one thing that my dad did the whole time I was gone, he said, "I got the light still on. I still got the light
Wow.
on." And he left that light on for me. And I don't know if he changed the bulb or how many times he changed the bulb. And then he had one of these like bracelets on that he kept on the whole time.
Okay.
And so those little things, just small physical acts of a spiritual steadfastness, was just powerful to me. Um, and so I knew that it hurt them, and then it hurt the community because he's preaching about it, and they said that he always talked about it. But from the moment you get in there, Pastor Jeff, like, you start doing push-ups, you start doing these things, you start having a clearer mind. And so it started physical. It started with me doing something physical, push-ups, pull-ups, working on my body.
Okay.
And as I was doing that, I was able to start thinking a lot clearer. And it's just a daily process. I don't think that change is, it can happen like that, but it is a constant happening because we're always becoming. And so it wasn't something that was just like a snap of a finger and that's what it is. It took time to become where I am now, and where I am now is not even going to hold a light to where I will be in the future, like, and so I'm grateful for realizing that we can become greater than what we are right now through constant uh renewing of the mind, the body, and the soul.
That's good. As we've gone from the mindset, mind shifting, and now you shared with the bringing your physical body into shape through that process and that soul awakening. I want to move from that experience of your traumedy, as Stars would say, to moving on the path of triumph. So take us to the day that you exited the physical walls of the prison, having already exited the mental walls of your prison.
Lock my body, can't trap my mind. I left way before I actually physically was released. um Man, it was amazing. It was amazing. So I had walked down in security. I had been fighting this case while I was gone, because while I was guilty of a lot of things, the situation that actually landed me in there was not, it was not factual. And I went through like a 2-day trial. I got sentenced to 140 months federal time on top of my 7 years state time. And so I had a great lawyer. I ended up fighting this case, and so I was looking at a lot more time than what I did. And I was convicted of a lot more time, but it went through the Court of Appeals, and and all of this stuff is going on. And I was getting letters back from my attorneys and all this stuff, and saying that I was, that this had gone through, that we had won our case in the Court of Appeals, but there was something that was kind of holding me.
Mhm.
And I was real good with the chaplain. I was in with the chaplain really good. We worked together. I would go down there because they had music. I would play music in the chapel, and led like a choir, and had, I mean, it was all
Mhm.
kinds of stuff. Um, but he pulled me in there, and he started playing. He started playing some. Who was it? He started playing that "Never Would Have Made It,"
Okay.
and then he turned his computer screen around, and he showed me my release, and I was to be released the next day. And
Wow.
I just filled up, like I just, it was just, I was grateful that I had made it through. And I had become, somebody that people could come to there. And so people were happy for me, and I was excited, and it was just a powerful moment. And then my wife came up, she picked me up, and we went back home. I surprised my parents. They didn't know exactly
Mhm.
when. I surprised them, and my mom about fell out her chair. She said, it was just an amazing thing, because we were looking at 140 months is 11 years and 8 months. And so we were looking at much more time than what I actually did, due to the Court of Appeals. And and maybe my case can help somebody else, because I became case law that day. And
Okay.
so yeah, that's my actual physical experience of release. And I know we got some places to go, like, and I know it's not a real long show, and I've kind of talked about all of that, but there are some great takeaways from this too, Pastor Jeff.
Absolutely. We're gonna get to them. We're gonna get to them. This sounds very similar to a story that's in the number one best-selling book of all times. That story is often called the story of the prodigal son, as you were sharing about your dad, where he kept the light on and he kept the risk man on. It sounded like that story of him knowing and looking for the son to come in and is already forgiven. And so I like that part of the story. As we move on into the triumph, let us know, what did this new Tony with the keys look like? as we carry this theme, for those that may be joining in late, we're carrying the theme of Tony with the keys, not only in a musical perspective, but with the keys to success or with the keys to destruction. You let yourself out of the cell of destruction because Tony with the keys had the key, and now the key has been turned to the physical jail. You have been let out. Your home, your parents did not expect to see you. You could have done 11 years more, but the man with the master key,
Come on, man.
he,
Come on.
he turned the key that said, no, you not gonna do that much time.
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can, and I start preaching whenever I start talking about all this stuff. But you know
Yeah, I
what?
gotta do the same thing because this is our show. I can't preach
Look,
either.
so I got home. Um, and while I had changed internally, while I had changed, everything else had stayed the same. I felt like everything, the people, the places, the things, everything else had stayed the same. And I realized that I didn't want to get dragged back into the same things, that recidivism, because it is a mindset, uh it is an aura, it is a spirit, that recidivism, it is something that pulls you back and holds you back and doesn't want you to be the greatest you that you can be. And so I realized that I had to change those places, people, and things, and to really be who, the best me that I could be. And that was some of the things that I did learn while I was gone. Is, people, places, things can get you, make you digress. And man, I went to Walmart and I didn't want to be in Walmart, like around all the people. I couldn't make a decision. I was like, I can't even make it. But ultimately, um, I moved over here to Arkansas. This is where my wife was. I moved over here to Arkansas. Um, and I was actively trying to find a job, but I didn't want to do a McDonald's. I knew that there was something greater than being a waiter. And I'm not saying that waiting is wrong. Like I still wait on people. I
Right.
do, but I knew that I had something inside of me that I had to get out. And I stumbled upon a sales job in the automotive industry.
Okay.
Um and sales just seemed really awesome because, like I said, I was really personable. Even when I was gone, I was personable and had this attractive character like that I wanted to share with people. And so it allowed me to really be who I was and to grow in a different path, in a different way than going in and clocking in and getting a paycheck on Friday and leaving. Like it allowed me to be everything that I could be and get paid for everything that I was able to do. And so
Right.
it was really just a different thing. So anybody who has gone through an incarceration or anything, like I would, if they will allow it, sales, everything else was kind of blocked off because of my past. There
Okay.
was a lot of blockades, but I was enthusiastic, had this charisma, and people in the sales community, they see that as something that is a great trait to be one of their top performers. And I have become a top performer and have then transitioned into other things. So yeah, that's that
Well,
answer.
you
I get
said something
along with
about
it. Yeah.
people. You said something about people, places, and things, and I would be remiss if I did not ask this question. As now you're out, you reunited with your parents, but then you reunite with your family. I want to know. I want you to let the people know what was that transition like, being re-entering into, at that point I would say, being the father of your children, and having we'll say a significant other, since you wasn't married yet.
Yeah.
Tell us what that was like from your perspective, for your family, for your children, and for your now wife, for Tiffany. What was that like for them?
I realized, so it was it was exciting for me. It was kind of the kids were kind of drawn back a little bit. My daughter, who was 6 at the time, she was now uh 10, and so that was a different thing. Like, I watched her grow up in there where she was sitting on my lap, and then she got too big to sit on my lap at visitor. I'm just like, well, baby, you got to sit over there, like, and watch that in there. And then, so our relationship, we're tight like this. My youngest daughter, it was kind of a shock for her, for me to even be around, for me to be there. My wife loved me, and she was there, and so it was very different. But I realized something. I realized that I couldn't make up the time that was lost.
Mm.
I couldn't make it up. No matter what I did, that was already gone. All I could do is make good with the time that I have left. And that mindset right there allowed me to not try to kill myself trying to do everything I can to make up for lost time, but realizing that I have today, and I can make today the best day that I can. And I have tomorrow, if I wake up, God willing, I have tomorrow, I can make that the best day that I can. And every day since then has been just great, and I'm so close with all of my children, my wife, like, and so we're blessed because of that mind frame, and not trying to make up for lost time. I think that a lot of people try to make up for lost time, and it's already gone. And so what do you have right now that you can do for today, for right now in your life?
Well, you've continued to beat the odds. The statistic would say that your relationship now with Tiffany would have been ended. It's commendable that she waited, not being married to you. Over half of marriages end when the male spouse goes to prison. So you've overcome the odds. Tony, what would you say to that man that is recently gained his physical freedom, and he has a family that he's going to? With what you've learned, what would you say to him?
I would say, um it's really easy to start trying to focus all your attention on everybody else because you've been gone. But you need to stay focused on who you are, and the story that you're writing. Like, I believe so much in the story that we are telling, that we're writing, and making sure that that story says that you're a good man. Like, because the world will look at you on paper and say that you've been through this, you've done these things, and so statistically you're not good, like, you're tainted. And I believe that we can change that narrative and become something much greater than what our past may say we are. And so you're not just writing that story for yourself, you're writing that story for your family, for your children, for your legacy. So your children don't read that story, that the narrative that the world may have them have. And so I think that that's the most powerful thing, is to really truly hone in on the story that you want to live by, and always be becoming, always be writing it. um and don't, because you're physically unlocked, don't get locked up mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally. Do everything you can to prevent yourself from being locked up in those areas.
Tony, it sounds like what you experienced was just a slow re-entry, both into open society, into your family. Talk about that from the children's perspective.
um from the children's perspective, I mean, I think that it was fun, like they, me not being around, and then coming back, like, it was shyness at first, because I was in a new space. I was in their space at that moment. But as they warmed up and they realized that I wasn't going anywhere, and I wasn't, and they didn't know who I was before. They didn't know the other stuff that I was doing, but because I was there, and I was present, and I was actually present, and not trying to do everything that I was doing before, it was much more fruitful, and our relationship has grown and fostered, and really flourished because of that, because I was able to be present and be right there with them, and they were able to see that dad's at the game, and it was just, it's been a lot more prevalent and present. Like I've been able to be present, and I think that that's the most powerful thing is whenever you touch back down, like be present. No, even if you haven't gone anywhere, that's just a powerful takeaway for anybody. Be present, and and not living two things, not always locked in on what's next. Like be able to be there whenever you're there.
Absolutely. Now, Star's going to be returning here in a few minutes, but I want to ask this question again. This is the Mind, Body, and Soul Awakening Show. We've talked about the mind. We've shared about the physical body, both incarcerated and outside. All who are listening may not believe in the God that you and I believe in, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but we all have a soul, regardless to what higher power that we believe in. As we get to that soul awakening, Tony, I want you to share with those that are listening how important that soul awakening was for you and how it can be for them.
It's so powerful. It's drawing from source. I believe that situation, the awakening part, was me realizing that everything around me is connected, and that conversation where your the things around you is a manifestation of what was inside of you. Like it just really helped me understand how connected I am with the world around me, how connected everything is, and realizing that God, my source, is feeding these things into me. My mom and I have this it's the verse that we always utilize, and it's that all things work together. It's Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to those who are according to his plan, to those who are called according to his plan. Yeah, that's all things work together for good for those who are called according to his plan. And to me, like whenever I start understanding that, I realize that even the bad things didn't have to be bad things if I had the mindset that things could be good, and that the universe, God, and the angels are conspiring in your favor if you move towards the right direction. And so I'm a believer that it's a big conspiracy,
A
that
big conspiracy.
it's a big conspiracy. The universe, God, good is all conspiring together in my favor, because I truly believe in the source. I truly believe in God. I
Well,
believe in the Lord.
you had no way of knowing that's been my life scripture. Um, that and now we know that all things work together to the good of them that love the Lord, they that are the called according to his purpose. But Tony, as I evolved and as I became um, closer to God, I reframed it. And the way I say it now is all things work together for God's good. If they work for his good, they absolutely have to work for my good. But before stars come up, I want to ask you this. Through that path of triumph, was there any professional counseling? We as Black men don't like to talk about counseling, and I don't hold back here when I'm doing interviews. So was there that professional counseling? If so, how did it look? And if not, why not?
So there have been mentors, there have been there's been wise counsel, there's been church counsel, there's been men's groups that I've been a part of, there's been marriage counseling, there's been, I mean, all of that. Like I don't turn away from good counsel, and I believe that's one of the things that has helped me as well. Like and even whenever I was gone, like I would go and I would see the counselor and talk to the chaplain and do these things, because I believe that it helps to get that weight out for you, to get that story out, to talk about it. I think as men, we carry a lot of weight of the world. We carry a lot of baggage. We try to hold it down so that way we don't show our emotions sometimes.
Right.
And I believe that we can harness that energy by talking with others. We don't have to hold on to it, but we can harness it and utilize it for good. Like we can take that and use it as a power, and actually share it. I think that it's real tough for a man to be vulnerable, for some reason.
But it's required.
But it is so required to open up and to be open and honest and vulnerable at times, um to really, I mean, that's what humbleness is, to really just be humbled and allow yourself to be humbled and not so haughty or not so raw and hard. Like, you have to open up sometimes. And I think that really being able to be in settings where I'm able to talk to it, whether it's a group setting or whether it's individual counseling or whether it's couples counseling or therapy or whatever the case may be, like it's powerful, or a mentorship, or having somebody who elders. Like, it is important to have those people in your life, so you're not going through this thing by yourself, because
Absolutely.
we're all connected.
Anything that's under constant negative pressure is going to break. And so that counseling is so very important. Tony, take a moment and talk to that brother by another mother that's in their 20s. That's the old you. Talk to that young man now, and from your experience, give them a word of advice from somebody who's already been there.
Get your mind right. Get your mind right. Like, do the right thing, man. You got everything going for you. You got everything going for you, and the enemy doesn't want to see you win. The enemy is going to take shots at your family through you. The enemy is going to take shots at your community through you. The enemy is going to try to take shots at your legacy through you, because you have something powerful inside of you. You have something powerful. You were meant for much more than what you're giving the world right now. And if you truly believe that, and you look inside of yourself and know that there's more inside of you, then you won't even pay attention to those negative ideas, those negative thoughts, that negative energy that's around you, and you'll be the best version of yourself. So don't let the enemy win. Don't let he's knocking at the door. Don't let the devil in. Believe in God, trust in it. Yeah.
Anthony Washington, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, being vulnerable, open up your heart, allowing PJ this opportunity to give you an exclusive interview. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Stars Tina, for creating this platform where men are respected and men can be heard without the interruption of the voice of a woman. And with that being said,
Tony, do you hear some
pass the mic back to you.
Tony, do you hear some extra oomph in his voice when he says that?
I mean, he did throw a couple of extras in there. Like, it's cool though. It's cool because you
it's intentional. It's intentional.
The way he's talking is like women don't let men speak or something. I don't know.
Stars, women will.
I'm not gonna touch that.
I will. Women.
Yes, he will.
Some women may give space for the man to speak, but what they've said prior to it will often cause him not to take advantage of that opportunity to speak. And so women need to learn how to speak with respect. As long as a man feels respected, he will become comfortable in speaking. But when he's disrespected or violated, he's going in that cave, that man cave, and he's not going to speak to you anymore. Yeah, he'll talk to you, but he's not going to come from the depth of his heart with you because you took advantage of it when he did.
Do you agree?
Not you personally, but when a woman does that.
I think that since from our conversation, like, even there's those relationship prisons too, those bounds, and sometimes that's one of those. That's part of it. Not all the time, but yeah, sometimes that could be a true statement.
So, ladies, you hear this, ladies. We don't want to disrespect the man, or what was the other one?
Why'd you roll your eyes when you said
you saw that?
I remember.
Look, she said that with a little condemnation in it, didn't she?
She looked up and looked
see,
back.
I'm not going to just talk about the women. We men also have to learn that when we talk to our women, when we talk to our ladies, that we can hear the same thing, but we process it different. So one of the things that I've learned to do is to ask the question, is this something you want me to fix? Or is this just you want me to listen? Because oftentimes men don't realize that the lady already know what she's going to do. She just wants you to listen. And when she's done sharing, we're off to fixing. And then we mess it up because she didn't want it fixed. And that's where the friction comes in the relationship. So we both, men and women, need to learn that men's brains operate one way, women's brains operate another way. We can hear the exact same thing. Starstina, I'll use this example because it's an example that often happens in a relationship, married or not. So Pete comes in and Pete says, hey Tina, I'm going out. I want to go out with the guys tonight. You've already planned that, you didn't plan something special and you really don't want him to go out. However, you say to him when he says, is it all right? You okay with that? And you say, yeah.
Oh no, not me.
Well, okay. For the women who would say, yeah. As a man, when you said, yeah, that's what we took it. So we go out on our happy way, go out and come back in, and now we don't get talked to for a month. We don't have no idea what in the world is wrong because you said, yeah. Now, if Tony and I was talking and we say something, we understand exactly what we're saying because we're men. We have the man brain. And so we both, men and women, have to learn the language of their spouse. So that takes work on both parts. I'm not going to just batter the women.
There's body language and I think that in conversations there's what they call context. So context clues is we can derive what we're, sometimes we hear what we want to hear, and sometimes it's not what we need to hear. So
it's a good book. I forgot who it's by. His Needs, Her Needs is a good book to dive into that. Understanding Our Love Languages is another good book for us to identify what the love languages is, so our love banks are filled up. And then just having the willingness to listen, to understand, and not to be heard. And when we can do that, that number one best-selling book says simply, treat others the way that God has treated you. And that's my paraphrase. Love God with everything, and then love your neighbor, whatever it is, as you love yourself. So basically, that's just saying, extend the grace and mercy that God gives us to others, especially to those that we are married to or in a relationship with.
Oh, and that's why you've been married so long, PJ.
Well, I don't know about that, but that's another stuff.
I've enjoyed this, Tina. I've enjoyed this, Pastor Jeff, and I'm looking forward to coming back and bantering with you guys. Like, y'all are awesome, and I love our conversations.
Yay! Have you been married? Have you been married more than twice?
No, one marriage. We got married on the 4th of July of 2022.
Sweet.
So we've been together for a long time, for about 15 years. And that was one of those things too, Pastor Jeff. Like it is what it is. But
long, 15
that's
years.
That's the thing is
Nobody has time for that.
I'm saying in and out over 15 years. Like I wasn't husband material back then.
At least you can acknowledge that.
She's always been wife material. I wasn't husband material for sure.
That's the case sometimes, Tony, with the keys.
But I'm here now, baby. I'm here now.
Darcina, why you ask Tony that question?
Because we need men. We need men that were married 2 times or more for our final episode. Tony, we want to do an episode with men that have been married 2 times or more, if you know any.
That's why you asked him that question?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Y'all hear that, man? If you've been married more than twice, like PJ, I've been married twice. Look, if you've been married more than twice.
This is the 3rd marriage here or the 2nd marriage, PJ?
No, my 2nd marriage. So we need folks who've been married at least twice. And
why are you laughing?
We're gonna have a conversation with you. If you've been
Because
married more
y'all
than
talking
twice,
about that, and my wife just opened the door looking at me. like,
no, Tiffany, he's not thinking about getting married a third time. No.
Second.
Don't let BJ get you in trouble tonight.
I think she heard me yelling, like, I'm a husband now. I think she heard me.
Now, mama. All right, let's get out of here. Tony, thank you for rolling up. PJ, fun. We will be back here next week. Same time, same station. Peace. And a bottle of hair grease. Ciao. Bye.
Yes.